On behalf of SportsbookReview.com, I'm Joe Duffy, CEO of OffshoreInsiders.com. We are going to take a preview of the Detroit Lions versus the New Orleans Saints. At SBRodds.com right now, the Saints are laying 4.5 with a total of 50. At OffshoreInsiders.com, where I have been winning for quite some time, and actually I've been winning publicly since 1988, Joe Duffy's picked 72-41 this season in football. 4 NFL Wise Guy plays. Now keep in mind, by the time you see this, we may have a few more plays in, most likely a lot more winners than losers. But as we follow this 72-41 going back to the preseason, season high, 4 Wise Guy plays. Wise Guy plays from Joe Duffy's picks, the strongest play in the handicapping industry. Now let's take a betting preview of this game. A rare case with the home team has no home wins versus a road team with no road losses, and yet the home team is laying at least 3.5. In that case, going with the home team is 10-6 for 62.5%. I've told you on some other videos we have a system that's fantastic in both the NFL and the NBA, and which is not the opposite, not the opposite, but where if the splits would imply that the home team should be the favorite, where the home team has a much better home straight-up record than the road team does a road straight-up record, and yet the road team's a favorite, you normally go with the road team. Sort of the similar philosophies here. Very rare case where you have a big home favorite, even though their home-road splits would say that the road team is the play here. Extremely rare, as I said, but still 10-6. I consider that to be significant, even though 10-6 is not statistically significant, in that it's very consistent with what our betting has shown over the years. When you have home road splits and the line itself would seem to be counterintuitive to that, go with what the odds makers are telling you. Now, the Saints just allowed 13 points the past 2 games. Just the 5th time in history that we have a total of 50 or above when one team's allowed 13 or fewer points in the last 2 games combined, that being the Saints. And the odds, those games have gone over 4 of 5 with 62.8 points per game scored. But that's another regression to the mean. Basically, history says the Saints, they're not that good defensively. Listen to what the odds makers are telling you again, and that their defensive performance the last 2 weeks, certainly an aberration or an outlier, as we would say in statistics. All 3 Lions wins were by 7 or more. Their 2 losses by a combined 7, including at the 1-foot line to Atlanta. The Saints, no turnovers, just the 3rd time since 1933 that a team has no turnovers through 4 games. Yet the Lions have forced 11. Now, a team with 2 or fewer turnovers versus an opponent that's forced at least 10 for the season cumulative, just 6-14 against the spread, so that would favor Detroit. But home teams with 1 or 0 turnovers in Game 4 for them or later, 19-10. The Saints defense, though, they're no way as good as they've shown. And even though I'm not a Matt Stafford fan, you know that, of course, when you're talking about a predictably unpredictable quarterback like Matt Stafford, he is off of a loss and getting more than 3 points on the road. So, I always say a predictably unpredictable quarterback like Matt Stafford, when he's a fairly big underdog, and that would be at least 3.5, bare minimum of 3.5 on the road, or an underdog at home. But quarterbacks like that are actually good percentage plays off of a loss and getting a decent number of points. But we are going to have Detroit as our free play here. Your free play is Detroit plus the 4.5. But as I said, the single most overrated statistic when it comes to sports handicapping, and this is really going to be prominent over the next couple weeks, NBA just around the corner, but especially in those long seasons, NBA, college basketball, et cetera, the single most overrated statistic is straight up record. We're picking against the spread, and we want to see teams that, either win impressively or lose and then keeps games close, et cetera, et cetera. Detroit has played better than their record this year. Their 3 wins have been big wins, or 2 losses were close ones, including on that 1-foot line. Most of you remember maybe one of the toughest losses of the year when this year's over. The Lions' loss against the Falcons will go down as among the toughest losses of the year. So Detroit's better than the record. The Saints, aberration, how well they've played defensively the past 2 weeks. Also, again, an outlier. You can't keep not turning the ball over. So I think the Saints are not as good as their record. So a classic case of a team being a little bit better than their straight-up record, one team being a little bit worse than their straight-up record. We're going to go with Detroit plus the 4.5. Remember, Sportsbook Review, very honored to have a great relationship with them. One of the things that we do that's relatively new, well, it's new, we've been doing it this year since week 1, the famed Scorephone Tailgate Party. It goes back to the Scorephones, but much higher tech, where I give you great information like this, but also various late-breaking information, whether it's weathers, injury, contrarian information, sharp player information, consensus stuff, line moves, all that and more, Saturdays and Sundays. Join me. Sportsbook Review's Facebook page, Facebook Live, butt-kicking information, and you know what? If you don't get up that early, it'll still be on demand, and now we got some really neat software where I can upload it to YouTube as well, so you can catch it on demand or live, preferably live at Sportsbook Review's Facebook page. But, you know, if you're in church on Sunday, it's Saturdays and Sundays, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you're at a sporting event like I used to be, a lot of Saturday and Sunday mornings, especially Saturday mornings, you can catch the on-demand broadcast. Go subscribe to Sportsbook Review's Facebook page. And join me at OffshoreInsiders.com for the best premium picks.